to BizChicks TV. We're here to help you take the hassle out of your hustle so you can build a profitable business that's fun to run. Here are your hosts.
Hey everybody, welcome to BizChicks TV. This is the place for tips, tools, strategies, and everything that you need to take the hassle out of your hustle so that you can build a profitable business that's fun to run. Today is Friday. That means it is time for Tech Life Weekly, and the Tech Divas are in the house. We have Dr. Tachi all the way from Florida. I'm Francine from California, so we're covering from coast to coast. Tech Life Weekly for the week of October 24th. So let's get right into it. We got some tech history, and then we're going to jump in. Dr. Tachi, how are you doing today?
I'm magnificent. How are you?
All is well and right with the world. Well, maybe.
In your eyes, I'll go with your depiction. Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, so here's our tech history for the week. This week in tech history shows how innovation is evolving from hardware breakthroughs to digital revolutions that change how we live, work, and communicate. October 20th, Ubuntu launched and the Trio Tube. 1906, Lee DeForest's Trio Tube amplified sound and signals, paving the way for radio and modern electronics. In 2004, Ubuntu 4.10 launched, making Linux accessible to everyday users and shaping today's open source movement. From vacuum tubes to open code, those are two milestones proving that access fuels innovation. October 21st, Apple's PowerBook revolution. 1991, Apple unveiled the PowerBook 100 series, redefining portable computing and setting the design standard for modern laptops. The PowerBook showed that design and function can travel together. Mobility was the new power. And I think mobility is it's not new power, but it is power.
Indeed.
Yes. October 22nd, the first photocopy. In 1938, Chester Carlson created the first xerographic copy, making the birth of the copier and office automation. A simple need, duplicating information, became a billion-dollar industry and transformed office productivity.
Wow.
Yeah. October 23rd, Apple iPod launch. 2001, Apple released the iPod 1000 songs in your pocket. It changed the music industry, user habits, and Apple's trajectory. One small device reshaped how we consume content, proving design and convenience win markets. I'm curious, is the iPod still being sold? Because
not new ones. They don't make the iPods anymore, from what I understand. But I still have an iPod, not the original one, but the Nano, the smaller ones.
The little square.
No, not the Nano. They is it called the Nano? They made them where they were about this big and very slim, so not as heavy as the original.
No. Okay, yes. So there was the one that looks like the little stick thing that looks like this.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have that one. Still has songs on it.
I think that was a thing, and I'm turning off these dinging and pinging and ringings. Hold on.
That's the pleasure of being in the modern age.
Yeah.
Ding and ding and dong and
things and rings, and I normally have everything silent. So I'm like, I'll come to you when it's time. All right, so that is the iPod launch, October 23rd, 2001. Seems so not. Wow, time is flying. October 4th, the birth of the Byte. In 1922, Werner Buchholz was born. He coined the term byte and shaped the computer architecture at IBM. Every file, message, and app still runs on the foundation of his idea: data made measurable.
Mm.
All right. So each of these breakthroughs, whether it's hardware design or accessibility, shares one thing: simplifying complexity. And as we keep moving forward, the next major leap will again come from simplifying what feels too complex today. Yeah, that is a true thing, because technology is getting easier and easier for the masses to use, and making it easier for us to communicate and to do life every day.
Yes.
So I got some tech that's making history this week, and Chat GPT Atlas is redefining the browser. They launched October 21st, which is a couple of days ago, and AI meets the web. Now, other companies have done this. Perplexity had their comment. Yeah, somebody gave me access to comment. I still haven't used it
Is there a reason why?
because I'm not a Perplexity user.
Mm,
And I
that
think
makes
that's
sense.
the reason, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so there's like 5 major AI tools that people use: ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, and the Microsoft Copilot.
Yeah.
I use ChatGPT. The
Yeah.
other ones are like,
Yeah. And there is is it Poe.io or Poe.ai? Probably .ai, that gives you access to a bunch of them at once. So
okay,
obviously it's not the highest plan or whatever because it's free, but you do get access so you can compare results from the different generative AI platforms, which is
and
kind of cool.
right, especially if you're trying to decide on which tool to use, you don't need to sign up and pay for every one of them.
Exactly.
You can
That's
go
just
over to
waste.
po.ai. Thank
Yes.
you for that, because there's that. So OpenAI introduced ChatGPT Atlas. It's a new AI-powered browser that blends conversation, search, and task automation. Users can summarize pages, store memory, and even allow AI to complete tasks directly in the browser. For the first time, the browser itself thinks with you. This
Mhm.
blurs the line between searching, reading, and acting online, a move that is challenging Chrome, almost said crime, a move that is challenging
Mhm.
Chrome, Edge, and Safari. Safari is on its own little island.
It is, and it never tried to be grouped with the other island. It doesn't wanna be mainland. It
Mm-mm.
always wants to Apple is island. Let's
Yes,
just be clear with that.
right. And for certain things, I stay on Safari. Uh,
Mm,
if especially if it's something that I wanted to um, remain as private as possible, because privacy has totally gone out the window. But if I want to keep it, if I maybe I'm just feeling, if I want to make myself feel like it's more secure, I stay in Safari, because it doesn't track. It tells me how many, when I go someplace, it tells me how many people have tried to track,
mm. Wow.
like so and so, these people have tried to track. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I don't want you tracking me or my whatever. But this one with Atlas, it tracks so that it can help you, right? Um, like today, I wrote today's stories about tech history and tech making history. I had the browser open But down the right side, I can still do a complete chat like I was doing if I were just inside ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. And that I think is going to be the difference, because all these other, for example, Google, yes, they've included AI in it, but using Google with an AI component is different than using a browser that was built with AI in mind. So,
Right. That is the big difference. A browser with AI in mind. It wasn't just a tack on where you just tacked
an
on.
afterthought. Yeah.
Yes. Um, so it talks about the interface is now intelligent and now not passive. And so businesses now need to rethink visibility in SEO because AI is curating what the users see.
Mm-hmm.
So, like
100%.
in everyday browsing has just become a strategic advantage. So here's the thing. I watched some guy do a YouTube on it because he tried it out. And he said, I just wanted to, I was looking for something that I had looked at on the web and he couldn't remember where it was. He typed it in ChatGPT and said, I'm looking for this particular thing. It went back and searched all of his browsing history and found, well, here are those things. Here are the thing that you mentioned. Here are the links that are similar or to what you asked for. And he was able to find the thing that he was looking for. You know how we search? It's like, I saw that somewhere. Well, it brought it back up for him.
No, that's good.
Right. And it also would shop. Like if he wanted to get toilet tissue from Amazon, it would shop and try to put the toilet tissue in his shopping cart.
See, that's the thing. You can actually plan your day. I was watching you know Alicia Little,
Yes.
and so she's been doing these summits like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was watching probably 2 days ago, and she was asking ChatGPT specifically to plan it. Oh, well, no, not just ChatGPT, it was on the new browser. And so she was asking that she wanted to go to a movie, to pick the movie for her. Also, she wanted to get something to eat. So it made this whole evening for her and what time she would need to leave dinner in order to make the 7:30
Mm-hmm.
showing and all of that. So it's really interesting. It can even book, although I don't know that I would trust this yet, but book airline tickets for you.
Yes. And now the agent mode has to be on, and you have to give it permission to access like if it's going to go check your email and what have you. You have to give it access to certain things like if you already logged in on, this is what the guy was showing, that if you were already logged in on Amazon or logged into your airline wherever you book, right, you have to be logged in on
Mhm.
those places for it to do it. But it was genius. You can literally get stuff done or have it done for you
Done for you. Exactly.
or done with you. And he intimated that you can have 10 different tabs open and you can have the Atlas be doing work for you in agent mode while you go get a sandwich or something, and it's going to book this and it's doing this and it's doing this and it's doing this. When you come back, it's done. I was like, I need to see how I can use this.
Yeah, absolutely. Although again, I still don't trust it with airline tickets, but that I would rather do myself. But
Right. And so the bottom line is that the browser just became the new operating system for intelligence.
mhm.
So there are some quantum moves from theory to infrastructure. IonQ helps Italy launch National Quantum Hub. Now we are moving into quantum computing, which means stuff is going to get real fast. We thought we're fast now.
Yeah. Wow.
Quantum technology is shifting from lab science to industrial infrastructure. And this is the new frontier for nations competing in data power and cybersecurity.
We should all be looking at quantum computing now. Definitely. That is the next frontier, but I think it is way too early for the general user to
Right.
understand, if ever they understand, because most people
Right.
don't necessarily understand per se how generative AI works, not to talk of quantum computing. So,
Yeah. And just like I've been telling people, we AI has been out for ages. It just wasn't out to the public. We weren't
exactly.
privy to it. It was all running stuff in the background. It's the same thing when you were talking to your home device, all that stuff. It has been here for a minute.
Yes, it has.
And then they just pulled the curtain back, opened the doors, and let everybody look, everybody, you too can use this. And we're like,
You
what?
too. Exactly. Exactly.
That's what's going to happen with quantum, but we're not there yet. So I don't need to know how my television works.
No, most people just want it to work. They don't care how it works.
Yeah, just can I push the remote and just turn it on? That's all I want. And this is what's happening with quantum. I don't necessarily need to see the inner workings. I take your word for it. It's working. Um, so the world is building its next internet, one qubit at a time. Yeah.
Yes.
There was a cloud outage showing fragility of always on systems. AWS outage disrupted some schools and online learning nationwide. I heard from other people that other things were disrupted as well. I didn't experience it exactly myself, so maybe you were more privy to it. A data center fault at Amazon Web Services caused hours of disruption across education and business platforms. Even the strongest clouds have weak points, and the digital backbone of modern life depends on redundancy and planning. So, always on isn't always true. And backup systems and diversification are now a leadership issue, not just IT. So, nobody had a backup?
No, because if you think it works, there's no need to. And what we have to understand is, well, there's two things. AWS is entirely too big. If it fails, and a lot of other things go down with it, because so many platforms and businesses and educational institutions use AWS as their primary to keep that's their cloud, right? So when that goes down, everything goes down. So that shows that it's entirely too big, and there needs to be some competition in that area. That is the biggest thing. You are not fail safe, as you've proven. So there needs to be room for some other things. Of course, they're greedy, so they will never let that. But there needs to be some serious competition to
Mhm.
AWS if this is the case. And yes, I did experience, because we just started. This is our second week. I'm teaching understanding movies this semester. And I was like, why is this being so slow? That's what it was, because they use the system they use uses AWS.
Yes. So there was a domino effect happening. Um, and the bottom line here is simplify your tech stack, but
Mhm.
never assume that it's invincible.
'Cause it's not.
Mm-mm. It's the end of the Windows 10 support. Microsoft, the final phase of Windows 10 upgrade or be left behind.
Oh, well, what's for lunch?
I was like, shouldn't we been off 10 a lot? Okay, never mind. Um, Good enough software is these are some takeaways. Good enough software is now a liability. AI integration is the new baseline, not a bonus. And staying still is the same as falling behind. Ooh, there's a thought.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Staying still is the same as falling behind. That's going to be my new mantra.
I just like, wow, people, you can't stay still. You really cannot. Because you know, have you seen a program where a person is standing and cars are just, and they're just standing there looking bewildered? You got to
Yes,
step on something.
you have to.
And that's your Week in Tech History and Tech Making History. TJ sent us her stories, so let's take a look.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot I have to push the button, huh?
Here are the latest social media news updates for the week ending October 23rd, 2025.
Whoops.
Pinterest rolls out new tools to control Gen AI content.
Can you raise
Now,
the volume a
users
little?
can dial down the AI
Let
and
me
add
look.
more
Hold
of a
on.
human
Yeah, there
touch.
you go.
Our updated tuner lets users
Yeah.
see less.
Let me start again. How about that? Just because we can't.
Here are the latest social media news updates for the week ending October 23rd, 2025. Pinterest rolls out new tools to control Gen AI content. Now, users can dial down the AI and add more of a human touch. Our updated tuner lets users see less Gen AI content on eligible image pins in certain categories that are highly prone to AI modification or generation, like beauty, art, fashion, and home decor. Users can manage these preferences and settings by visiting Refine Your Recommendations. From there, it's easy to adjust and see fewer Gen AI images in each supported category. If users see a pin that's not quite the aesthetic they're looking for, they can simply tap the three-dot overflow menu on the bottom right of a pin and select a category. If a user changes their mind, they can adjust their selections at any time. The upgraded tuner is available across Android and desktop operating systems and will roll out gradually across iOS over the following weeks. YouTube as a timer for you to stop scrolling shorts. YouTube is adding a new timer feature to help users manage their usage behavior, a move that reflects both growing public pressure on tech platforms and the company's interest in fostering long-term engagement rather than risking user burnout. Users can set a daily time limit for shorts viewing throughout the app settings. When users hit their limit, they'll see a pop-up letting them know short scrolling is paused, though they can dismiss it. The limit isn't currently integrated with parental controls. Parents can't set time restrictions on their kids strolling at the moment. YouTube plans to add parental controls next year that will prevent children from dismissing the prompts. OpenAI launches an AI-powered browser, ChatGPT Atlas. OpenAI has launched its new web browser, ChatGPT Atlas, which is built with ChatGPT at its core to deliver an AI-powered browsing experience. The company says Atlas will first roll out on Mac OS with support for Windows, iOS, and Android coming soon. OpenAI says the product will be available to all free users at launch. Many users currently waste time copying and pasting text or dragging files and links into ChatGPT just to provide context. The sidecar feature eliminates that friction and streamlines the user experience. As you use Atlas, ChatGPT can get smarter and more helpful too. Browser memories let ChatGPT remember context from the sites you visit and bring that context back when you need it. ChatGPT can also do work for you using agent mode, with improvements that make it faster and more useful by working with your browser context. You can decide which sites ChatGPT can see, clear your browser history, Use incognito and manage browser memories anytime. And that is your social media news and updates for this week.
So what I got from that, remember when I started the video and we couldn't hear it very well?
Yes.
Well, yesterday I was using this same browser and I brought in a YouTube video, but I wanted the volume down lower.
Okay.
It remembered where that volume was.
Ah, okay.
Because I
Wow.
was like, why didn't this just come at full volume?
Right. And then, we're not used to having this whole thing of being able to really control the volume of things in StreamYard is newer. So you're not thinking about, oh, let me, yeah. Godspeed, StreamYard. Godspeed.
And they have something new that they just put in here where you can record in landscape and portrait at the same time.
I saw that.
And I was so confused.
I don't know why anyone would need that. Oh, well, I guess if you've got people that are, if you're doing a multi-guest, and that way you can have, but that looks ugly. But
I was like, okay. And so when I went in there and they said they're going to turn our studio into automatically multi something, I was like, okay, I need to read up on that. I was going to play with it today, but I couldn't find how to turn it. I said, fine, never mind.
Don't worry about it. It will be mainstream for you to play soon enough.
Right. So I was like, okay, so we have squares and circles and stuff. And I'm like, okay, more stuff for me to try and remember. And making sure that the color scheme stays the same when you change something. So it was kind of interesting. But TJ's stories were pretty interesting.
Very
like,
interesting indeed.
Yeah, especially Pinterest. I'm like, so they're getting a lot of AI, undesirable generative AI.
Slop.
Okay. You get to determine, because TJ talked about this on Tuesday. You can determine what you're going to do with these AI tools. You don't have to make sloppy, junky stuff. You can actually make really good things.
You can, but it follows that you have to have a modicum of imagination and desire to do so in the first place, which proves the original point of not everybody is meant to create on these things. Simply because you can doesn't mean that you should and will have something valuable to say. So that was the marketplace now is sifting out people who don't belong, right? Rather than gatekeepers in traditional media, now is the marketplace like, oh, your stuff is AI slop or rubbish. We're just not going to watch, right? So,
and I'm glad they gave us the tools to say, I don't like this. Don't show me less of this. Show me less of this. And so there's that. Okay. Well, Dr. Tachi, I'm going to give you the floor.
Okay. So we just have a few stories. Let's talk the New York Times. So whatever you feel about the New York Times, they're under a little bit of fire for not really reporting things like the protests that happened last weekend as fully as they could, right? So, and you would think the New York Times, they would, but fine. But they're actually debuting a new TikTok-like watch app inside the New York Times app. So it's going to be a standalone destination within the main app, and it's going to include a lot of different things. So it will be short form, scrollable, vertical news videos, and it will be updated daily. Now, why does this matter? Because this is actually a part of a broader effort to bring all of its journalism across different mediums into a single centralized destination instead of on differentiated apps. So like right now, I will admit, I do have the games app because I like New York Times crossword puzzles and their games. But if I'm understanding this correctly, then they would actually bring everything under one app rather than having all these separate dedicated apps. So they've actually experimented in the past with separating the audio experience into a dedicated app, because if you know, as you know, they actually have some podcasts, but eventually what they did is they just folded it into their main app. So again, it's going to be called the Watch tab. It will be available to the to Times app users. It was actually available Wednesday, and it's like swipeable stacks of videos. You know how you do on TikTok, you just swipe, and they're produced in-house, editorial by the Times newsroom. No longer than 3 minutes generally. They span a broader array of Times editorial news coverage and expertise, and that's like from the opinion section, lifestyle brands like NYT Cooking, The Athletic, and then the consumer review site, The Wirecutter. Now, I do get Wirecutter newsletters and NYT newsletters as well. So I think this is interesting because actually starting early next year, the Watch tab will be available to brands as part of an open beta test for vertical video advertising. Now, if you ask me, this is what you should have been doing all along.
I was just going to say that when you saw the writing on the wall, pun intended, you should have segued over to an app where I can just the New York Times, Washington Post, whoever you are, just get the app and I can just get all of your stuff instead of me doing this with the newspaper. I can do this and go, oh, all my stuff is right here.
You know, I think though the thing is newspapers cater to a slightly older demographic who like flipping, and the New York Times, even though they've been, they have other apps or whatever, they still probably have an older reader base. And to them, it may not have been worth it to develop it. But now everybody is coming to the realization, if we want to have the next generation of New York Times readers, we need to be where they read. That would be inside an app. Yeah, exactly. Why does nobody listen to us? I can't say. But
okay, I'm in the demographic that they serve. What? You should have had this a long time ago.
But you're also a techie friend.
Okay.
And so you are not the normal demographic that they serve. The normal demographic that they serve is even if they're the same age, they're not latching onto technology the way you do.
These people set up the technology.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Fast, but I'm like, what the? You should have. Okay, Apple came out, Google came out, all this stuff was coming out during this time. Whoever was at the top of these newspaper empires, they were not paying attention.
No, but because they only cared about money. And what it brings them money now is what they care about. For some reason, these companies are not futurists, particularly media companies. When you look at, I keep looking at how long it has taken us to adopt. Understandable, there are costs involved, but there's a new broadcast standard called ATSC 3.0, but it's really not new because they were talking about this at NAB in 2016 and 17. How many years ago was that?
A lot.
That was 8 years ago. And you all are still squibbling over, or squabbling. I like squibbling over whether or not you should adopt this thing. And that's because it's not only that they don't like change, they don't like to spend money on change.
Well,
that's the thing.
AI is going to push you to spend some money on change. You're not going to be able to sit in the high ivory tower and just sit there. Mm-mm.
No.
The villagers are leaving.
The villagers are leaving the village, and they're leaving their wheelbarrows with hay behind, right? So you can take that hay and have it, or you can move on with the rest of the villagers to the big city. So again, it's going to be available to brands starting next year for an open beta test for vertical video advertising. If again, they should have been doing this because your primary method of gaining revenue is advertising. It's not subscriptions.
So Instagram was doing this, Facebook was doing this, YouTube has really been doing this.
TikTok
is everybody else where you go to get this, and they let people were leaving. Well, maybe the newspapers were never there, so they were on the other platforms, still scrolling and still watching ads. And here's the thing. I don't know why people don't take TikTok more seriously. Have you ever purchased anything from TikTok Shop? I have not.
Okay, I have. Although I try to, there's not always the promise that certain things are great, but I have purchased a couple of things. Like I have a hair straightener, like when I want to trim my ends that I got from TikTok Shop, and it's wonderful. It's really great. I've ordered a couple of perfumes off of TikTok Shop, but I'm like, because it's too easy to sit there, because not only do they have the shop area where you can look at these things, there are people selling these things live. So they do live selling, and so it is very addictive. So I try not to be in that area because I don't want to end up with junk, in my house. So I don't understand why New York Times does not take, or any newspaper. Hey, Fred, now we can start. I don't understand why New York Times or any newspaper does not take a page out of TikTok's book and do a new NYT shop. You could sell your swag. You can partner up with and become an affiliate for other people. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to become a junk shop, but be very thoughtful with what you sell.
You have to be forward thinking to do that.
Sorry, my fault. But doesn't it make sense? If I had the resources to, like the New York Times does, I would. Then maybe you wouldn't have to lay off so many people.
Okay, because when you mentioned that they're going to, have all their stories in a scroll format, and they're just going to put some ads in, and you still get the games, and you still get the podcast. That is everything in one world. What?
Everything in one app. You don't need a whole bunch of apps.
And isn't this the model that Facebook is doing and Instagram? They're trying to keep you on the app.
Yes.
They could keep all of their subscribers in the app. I might think of subscribing to the app, but I'm not subscribing to the newspaper. No, I'm not doing that.
No.
But if I have the entire app with all of this, okay, then that's a different ballgame.
Do you see why I get tired sometimes? Because the answers are very simple, but they choose to take what does Lauryn Hill say? It could all be so simple, but you'd rather make it hard. So I can't help people who don't want to be helped. Fred has a comment.
He said, this sounds like the restaurant, gas station, retail combo stops.
Yes. Okay, fine. You don't even have to look at TikTok. Look at Buc-ee's. Look at what is the Wawa? Look at, I don't know what they have in California.
That AM PM?
Is it like a rest stop and they have all this stuff?
Oh, okay. I'm sure they're that's in Texas, Loves or whatever. Okay.
So yes.
where you can just stop and you can eat
You
and
could
you
buy your gas. You can
and you
eat.
eat, and then you can go buy souvenirs and do all.
Souvenir, yes, exactly, exactly. So think of Bucky, yeah, Bucky's and Wawa's not here, but you have so you must be in Michigan. Did we covered this before? You have Meyer, yes, and I know Meyer is in Michigan. So are you in Michigan or Illinois? Let me know. So yeah, that if you don't want to use a modern example and you'd rather be like the Flintstones instead of the Jetsons, fine. Use Wawa, use Bucky's, use Meyer. Ohio. Okay. Yes, because I know that Meyer is Midwest. So we don't have them in New York that I know of. But Western New York is so close to the Midwest that like it's only about 2 hours from Cleveland. So it's so close to the Midwest that sometimes Western New York will get those things, but the rest of New York does not. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, that's what's happening there. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not probably going to. I paid for the year for the games app, and once that's up, I'm like, yeah, I'm not re-upping, even though it's not expensive still. So
Right. And I'm just astonished that they haven't jumped on that. I'm not talking about just the Times. When the newspaper industry started to turn, then they saw apps. Somebody should have said, hey, we can do this. And I'm thinking of PBS right now too. PBS has an app, and they did that. You can, and they keep telling you, get the PBS app, and
Kids app and the PBS app. Yeah. I think the big thing is, even though these are media companies, they don't have a whole lot of tech people. It's only very recently that they started having social media teams, that they started looking at technology besides technology reporting. And they do have business people, but those business people weren't tech people either. So and here's the thing with, sometimes, forgive me for this, but sometimes these technology companies are farces, not technology companies, business schools are farces because they're not teaching them, they're teaching them from theory. And it's like, okay, how did that happen? Okay, I think I know what I'm going to do now. I'm trying for my computer. Give me a second, not to shut off. I thought I plugged it in, but
and it's deciding not to behave.
Right. It's not, you saw me plug it in.
Right.
So I think this is what we'll do. Luckily, I'm smart enough to have I thought I was smart. Yes, I'm not that smart because it came out.
Fred says here, all the
Give me a
media
second.
okay, all the media companies should just offer paid live broadcast access on YouTube, which I mentioned to the PBS president. I guess that's who you were referring to, Fred. Okay, because YouTube could be the spot, right, for people.
YouTube, I hate to tell you, YouTube is the spot, but traditional television doesn't like to lean into it. I do understand that you have to know that your margins are not going to be as big as they are in traditional television, not at first, but they could grow to be that if you make that your platform of choice. That's the thing. People just have to choose YouTube. They just have to choose digital, and it can be. But because we're so stuck, I told you, the industry doesn't like change. They like things as they are, and they're going to make excuses for why they can't change instead of actually doing it.
And they're going to get pushed because AI is pushing us into, because more people, so the villagers now have tools.
Yes.
And the villagers are like, okay, we don't need to actually go to you to get our news. We don't need to go to you to get what we need. I can stay right in my browser and do this.
Absolutely.
And so if you want me to come and visit you, Perhaps.
You have to give me a ride. You want me to take the bus there, and I don't want to. So,
Mm.
wow. So let's move on. I've got another story for you. Let's talk about, speaking of this new wave of what's happening in media, there is a film studio that was created on the internet called Creator Camp. And now they've just gotten their first movie into theaters. They've dubbed themselves the Internet Born Film Studio. And what they're trying to do is to challenge Hollywood by taking digital video creators to the big screen, and they're releasing their first film into theaters. I can only imagine what a feat this was. So the film is called Two Sleepy People, and it's from writer/TikTok creator Baron Ryan and writer-actress Carolyn Grossman. So they're co-starring as a, quote, couple that's married every night but by morning they're strangers. That sounds really interesting. They made it in 100 days on a budget of $100,000. Ooh, 100 days, $100,000. I love that. That could be a challenge, right?
Yep.
I love that. And this is the first public release project to come out of Creator Camp. So I think we're going to see more and more and more of this. So Creator Camp, this is the thing. It was founded in 2021 by creators Max Reisinger, Simon Kim, and Chris Duncan. And they were really trying to hold a multi-day retreats for aspiring and established content creators. And their goal was really to shape a, quote, better internet by fostering deeper connections and providing more space for more meaningful stories online. So then earlier this year, they decided to tackle something bigger. They partnered with Patreon, and they gave 10 digital content creators cash to make their own high production films, and then held a film festival showing of the results at the Paramount Theater in Austin, Texas. And they also got industry knowns like Quentin Tarantino to host workshops for attending creators. So they first filmed it at that workshop or the festival, I should say, Two Sleepy People. They ended up welcoming over 1,000 attendees, and they generated $150,000 in ticket sales. Now, let's look at this. Let's look at the math. They spent $100,000 to make it. In ticket sales, they generated $150,000 just from 1,000 people. That's actually pretty good because that's $50,000. We could just call it now profit, right?
Yep. Hollywood better wake up.
Exactly. Now, again, to Hollywood, they may be like, because they don't do, for them, 10 million is a low budget film. So they're used to really dealing with things in the millions. And I think, now granted, as a film person myself and understanding quality, fine, I get it. But can I also tell you the average person doesn't care? Not the way we care about it.
No.
You just want it so that it is not disruptive to the filmmaking process. So if I'm shooting things on a Fisher-Price camera, it's going to annoy me and be painfully obvious once it's blown up that it was shot on a Fisher-Price camera. But now it's really difficult to people like, oh, well, the depths of the colors, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's about this. I shouldn't say that. People care, but not as much as we do. And I care. But the average person, no, they care about the story. They care about the believable characters. And do I have enough or good enough technology that you're not taking me out of the story world? But Fred, be quiet. You care because you're a film person. You're a production person. People who are not production people don't care. We think they should care.
Yeah, now I care up to a certain extent. I need the message to get out.
Yes.
And okay, so I've seen a lot of movies here recently, because I watch black and white film, and I'm looking at the continuity. I'm like, hey, her hair was different. I'm looking at stuff, but it didn't affect the overall outcome of the movie. I just noticed it. Right.
And continuity is it's a film device. It has nothing to do with technique or sorry, nothing to do with equipment. So you can have good continuity in a film, good continuity in a show, and you could be using a Fisher Price camera. As long as her hair was the same as it was in the shot before, it doesn't matter. And I mean, the thing is, there are things that obviously, as a person that is trained in film, that I have to get over when it comes to content creation. I mean, I think it makes me a better content creator because I'm aware of these things. But
Mhm.
like, okay, so right now I'm not using my camera. I'm just using the laptop camera. I
Right.
hate it.
I
I
mean,
hate the camera.
and I understand how that is, but there are some people. Okay, I don't like where we get the bedroom. Fix your stuff and stop using, what is it, green screen, when you don't have green screen and you don't have lighting for stop.
Stop using green screen without the proper technology. I don't want to see your bed. I don't want to see shrapnel in the background. Move it out of the frame. You could have a messy house and you could have stacks of books. Move them out of the frame. If I can't see them, it doesn't exist. So just things like that that break me out of the thing. Even the fact that this microphone is here at first bothered me to no end because I'm coming from the world of production where the mics are hidden. And
Right.
I did not want to be podcasty. But here's the thing. People will turn away from bad sound quicker than they'll turn away from a bad
Bad video.
image.
Yep.
Right? So you have to sacrifice something here. The sacrifices, now I do have wireless mics. I can clip it, but I also noticed when I was shooting one time, because I'm not used to wearing a wireless mic, I was constantly hitting it, which makes it painfully obvious there is a mic. So there are sacrifices you have to make. There is no perfect scenario. There's just what's perfect for you. Oh, and Fred has some comments.
Fred said, I just watched Highest to Lowest by Spike Lee and I want my money back. And it was free.
Really? Now, I love the original Akira Kurosawa Highest to Lowest. So I didn't see this though, or high and low, not highest lowest, high and low.
I haven't watched it yet. I was like, okay, the genre or the content, I just didn't watch it yet. He says color grade was off, continuity awful, music all over the place, and Denzel's hair was ridiculous. Should have been a Tubi original.
That's terrible.
Maybe Fred will get his own Siskel and Ebert type.
You need one.
Yeah. Oh, and he continues. Bad lighting is the worst. Use natural if you do not know how to light a scene.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You just have to go with it. I think that I've done enough now, like all of us have done enough now, that there's certain things are forgivable. Because I had to set this up really quickly, I didn't have time to set up the other camera. So I said, you know what? As long as I have lights, it will be believable. So that's when I knew I had to have the window, the curtain open in front of me, and lighting on the side so that I at least look like I tried, And
that was the thing. There are some people who do not try and they look like they didn't try.
No, oh my gosh. Working with people and running live streams is something in itself. And it doesn't matter how many times you tell people your camera needs to be at eye level. You need to have this. Can you bring every single time? If it's a new person, there's a new thing. Oh, well, I have this light, but this is what we talked about the last time. Why are you still using this? So, but that lets you know that the average person is not using the same considerations for technology we are. Therefore, when watching it, because they're also so used to a social media world and the production there, they're okay with quick and dirty. So I think even people, it's only very recently that I keep bringing up Don Lemon and Joy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
When they first started, they were just using kind of ragtag, especially Joy Reid, just ragtag equipment like her computer and stuff like that. And people forgave that because we could hear and she's famous, right? But if you're not famous, you have very little leeway with what you can do. You have to be perfect. So
Fred has a couple of comments. He said, just remove shadows, base start. And then he
Mhm.
said, local news stations are still awful, especially in lighting. And please don't let me see a spelling error.
We know you.
And then he says, Reed's shocked because she has a production company.
You're right, but she didn't do the production. This is part of the thing. People act like sometimes that, people are on TV and they know, but they don't do it. That's where there's all this division of labor because they have camera people and whatever to do it. Where we see that they really have other people to do things is when they have to be in the moment and set up things like listen, I will say it. What you're seeing now from me was way better than what they both had when they start. And I'm just using my laptop camera. Never mind if I set up the real stuff. But like this looks way better than what they have. They probably didn't clean off the lens at the very least. And then lights, I'm sure they had ring lights. Am I happy about that? No, because, I want people to win. I really do. But you expected her to look like me? No. Now it's a lot better. It's a lot better. I'm still not a fan of a kind of step and repeatish background. That's me though. And you don't have to do what I do. And guess what? She could stand in front of a step and repeat on the edge of Niagara Falls and people would still be okay with it because she's Joy Reid. If I do that, then people be like, what's this in the background? I can't do that.
No, because we're used to the cedar beams and the living
heads. Exactly. So even now, like, okay, you can see my car in the background, and I don't care because
she's human. But it
lets people know that this is not a green screen. Like,
oh my gosh, you do not have a penthouse in New York. You are not in a penthouse.
Yes, I'm like, come on, let's tell the truth here and shame the devil a little bit. That's not where you live. And I don't have a problem with well done green screen, but the proportions are often so off.
I was like, please stop. I get on Zoom calls and I'm like,
I know, but the thing is, the bottom line is that they don't care. And if they get the message out there, I'd rather you do it right as well, but that's fine. And everybody, you know what? And that's fine, because that also puts all of us in a different class in terms of people that actually really care about the craft of it and the look of our broadcasts and the sound of our broadcasts, which I think is, if you're going to be in this, you ought to care about the craft of it. So yeah, it puts us in a different class. I'm okay with that. Let's see. I have a few more before we go. Let's see. So that last story was Creator Camp got its first movie in theaters, and I think that is actually cool. If you're interested, you can go to YouTube to the Creator Camp account or channel and watch the Two Sleepy People trailer. Kind of cool. And look for more of this.
They are disrupting. This is the start of the disruption.
Yes. And it's interesting because we've all been taught, if you think about it, school teaches you not to be disruptive. It teaches you to sit, be still, listen, and listening is important. That's how you learn. But take in and don't take action. Don't make waves. Don't disrupt. How many people got in trouble for being disruptive? Now, that's not the type of disruption you want, but I never got in trouble for at all. But that also is like, so later on, I started to get a disruptive spirit because I think I know when to be disruptive. So, but we're taught in school not to disrupt or make waves. So what change requires is disruption.
Right. It really does. Fred has a couple of comments. He said, don't let me get started on Black Star Network.
Right.
He says Roland's always crying about sponsors when most of the shows are people live in a closet talking.
I'm glad you have sponsors, Roland. Some of us have been doing this forever. Like he's just really more recently come over to this digital side when he was not on, TV1 anymore. There are those of us who have been doing this for years, longer than he has, and we don't have sponsors. So, okay, I'm not really feeling sorry. No shade, but I don't feel sorry.
Yeah, we've grown up without it. Fred said, I don't see it as a disruption, but addition and addition or insertion.
I love that.
And he says, I was disruption. I spent many times in the corner in school. I purposely did it because class was boring.
And that wasn't your fault. That was the education system and that teacher.
Yeah, and he says Roland's still begging like he's MSNBC.
Listen, and here's the thing. There are so many people that are like, hey, become a part of my Patreon, become a part of my Substack, do this, do that. And I am the cheerleader for everyone. But guess what? I also have my own network. I also have my own programs. And if I can't be giving willy-nilly to people, and I'm trying to build my own. So you will be fine. Those who have had other presences before, you will be fine. You don't need me because I need to build me. And I think this is what we all need to, and this is why I love the idea of doing things together as a cohort so that we can all benefit from these types of things, because we don't have the benefit of having a big name like some of the other people have that are now coming over to the YouTube side or trying to do some things on TikTok, etc. We don't have the benefit of that. So it's us building brick by brick on our own without the assistance of any big entity. So yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Fred says, but I applaud him.
Me too.
And then he says, I like the Indie Soup name.
Thank you. Thank you. I like it too. And I like our content. So, it's growing day by day.
Perspectives, because people are going to go where they want to go. The villagers have spoken. They're going to go and watch the people they want to go watch. And they will. And we're not beholden to the networks any longer.
No. One thing that I don't do, here's the thing. I was really good in school and I did follow the directions in school, but I also am not good at following directions because I do what I like. I may say, okay, and then I do what I like. After school is over, because the point is you follow directions to get through what you need. And then when it comes to your own, I don't have to follow anybody's direction. So the point of you telling me what I need to do, and not necessarily out of constructive criticism, but what you need to do to make money off of my stuff, I don't want to do. If it's something small, and I see that, okay, yeah. But to make sweeping change, I don't want to do that.
Fred's an open opportunity for young college on Indie Soup. They will need it.
Oh, believe me. Well, this is why we have an internship program. And most of our interns, we started taking interns last year. Most of them have been from Canadian schools in the Toronto metropolitan area. And it's been fantastic. I will say this, that young college students, they're still drinking Flavor Aid, whereas the industry is the only thing that they see. And I've experienced that with like American college students. And it could be with Canadian college students, there are less opportunities for that type. Of course, they've got CBC, CTV, and that type of thing there, but they don't have anywhere near as many media outlets here as they in Canada as they do here. That's why it's easier for me to get and work with Canadian students. But the students here, I've offered ad nauseum and crickets. But when you blow up, they'll all be trying to be on board, to which I'll be like, no.
Fred said, oh yeah, big dreams, straight to Hollywood or Emmy dreams.
Which is nice. I'm not saying don't have those dreams, but how many out for every one person that makes it in Hollywood, there are thousands who don't. So what are you going to do if you're one of those thousands, which you probably will be? How are you going to make it? And this is what you want to do. You have to look at alternative ways.
He said we had interns at local PBS, at his local PBS, and they kept asking about Emmys.
And understandably so. It's an Emmy is a prestigious thing. I'm not saying it's not, but I've seen some people that I'm like, you have an Emmy, why? So it's also subjective, right? I myself, I don't have an Emmy yet. If I don't get one, that's fine. But I am part of the Television Academy family because I was a faculty fellow for the Television Academy. So because of that, I'm always part of that Television Academy family. That doesn't guarantee me an Emmy, and I don't have one, but it is nice to be with a cohort of people who are in the television game, right?
Right.
Wow. Okay, well, let me continue on. Let's talk about Netflix, Amazon, and Apple being interested in buying Warner Brothers.
What?
Hey, yes. So this is according to The Verge. Supposedly, these are 3 titans that are in the running that have interest in buying Warner Brothers Discovery. So again, Netflix, Amazon, and Apple, and they're looking at either buying it in its entirety or pieces of the company, like the content libraries, production assets, and more, according to Bloomberg and The Verge. So earlier this week, Warner Brothers Discovery announced that they were launching a, let me say this properly, quote, review of strategic alternatives to maximize shareholder value in light of unsolicited interest in the company has received from multiple parties for both the entire company and Warner Brothers. That's a lot of gobbledygook, but basically they're saying people are unsolicited people have been interested in buying it, and now we're looking at maybe, yeah, right? So,
well, I mean, when's the last time you saw a WB program?
I haven't. Well, WB is actually really, didn't they, if I'm not, Fred, help me. Didn't it was UPN and WB kind of merged, and that's what formed the CW, if I'm not mistaken?
That's what I thought. And then
I think that's correct.
Okay. And so Disney has his hands in a lot of stuff. And I was like, well, wasn't some of that in Disney's confusing mash of stuff that they have now? Disney got way too much stuff that is not Disney. Yes.
And they shouldn't actually have as much as they do. I don't know what happened to antitrust and anti-monopoly laws, but
Fred said yes. Fred said yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, it's interesting. They are interested in this. So WB has also, WBD, because it's Warner Brothers Discovery, according to Bloomberg, has already passed on 3 offers from Paramount, including one for up to $24 per share. Interesting. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if that would pass. Well, maybe in today's day and age, because remember, they just completed that Skydance merger.
Paramount did.
Paramount Skydance. So now you're interested in how is this legal? How is any of this legal? Anyway, so Warner Brothers Discovery right now owns HBO, CNN, DC Studios, and of course the Warner Brothers Studios, its namesake. And if this Paramount Skydance merger is any indication, finding a buyer that would be able to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery as a whole could prove very challenging. However, they are planning to split cable TV and the streaming businesses next year. That's WBD. So that's what's happening there. So if you didn't even know that it was for sale, let me tell you, everything is always for sale if the price is right.
UPM and the WB. The network's name, CW, comes from the first letter of its parent companies, CBS and Warner Brothers. So Paramount owns CBS already. Okay, and so there's all this everything, everybody is in everything. And Fred says legal smeagol.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But somebody has to be the voice of legal reason. I'm trying to just bring up the fact that there should be legalities in this case, but nobody seems to care about the law. So,
And it seems like everybody has a little piece of everything.
yes, and that's how it starts. So you don't buy the entire thing; you buy little pieces of things, right? So that you're like, oh well, it's just a piece of it. It's not the okay. That's how it starts, right? It starts with just a spark. All right, let's move on. I think that's interesting. Netflix wants its own video podcast library, so they are partnering with Spotify. Not surprisingly, it seems like everybody wants to have a library of something, and especially podcasting is hot. Podcasting has been hot for the past few years. I would say since 2014,
Right.
when it has not let up. So podcasting has been really hot. Netflix wants in on that. But here's the thing about podcasting. It's difficult to build an audience of really dedicated listeners. It is. I had a podcast for how long were Kevin and I doing the podcast? 6 years? 7 years, something like that. And we had an audience, but it always remains small. You know, I don't know. There are ways now that you can increase your audience more than when we started back in 2015, but that's an uphill battle. So it's probably easier to buy your audience, right? And that's by acquiring something that already has a following. That's why they are partnering with Spotify.
And, okay, and so now all the Spotify creators will be showing up on Netflix.
No, well, it's not everybody.
No,
no, y'all. It's choice select podcasts that will also be listed on Netflix. So it's not like our episodes are still there on Spotify. It doesn't mean they're going to be on Netflix. Although if Netflix said, we would probably go back into production for that. Not a problem, because this time we would get paid. So go ahead.
Chris said if people invested in true marketing, podcasts would grow quickly, in his opinion.
You're right, but the thing is that it is as difficult as it is to get an audience. That also means it's difficult to get brand partnerships and sponsorship deals that would pay for that type of thing. And most podcasts are smaller. That was our thing to really jump off. And I have to say, TV channeling was excellent. But to really jump off the way we wanted it to jump off, we would have needed to invest some money in that, which is difficult to do when you're not making any money off of it. So
Right.
What people are seeing is the Joe Rogans of the world, the Travis and other brother Kelseys of the world, and the deals they're able to get from Spotify. But that's not normal. Most people are either losing money or barely breaking even, and you're doing it out of fun. But if you want it to be a business, you really have to put some time and money into it. I agree.
Right.
Go ahead.
Fred says podcasts in this case are video podcasts, and he says I'm an audio first guy. And then most content creators do not invest in marketing. I'm remembering how a lot of radio stations started when they were really small, and they just had somebody came in to the studio, listened to the radio, and they weren't necessarily trying to get the numbers. They just enjoyed the craft and enjoyed putting the information out. And then it grew organically. It wasn't any numbers thing where you're trying to get the numbers. They wanted to get their message across.
Mm-hmm. And build a community, because that's the other thing about this. It's about building community. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So the final thing about this is that starting next year, Netflix, if you're a Netflix subscriber, you'll be able to sample a quote curated selection of Spotify hosted video podcasts. And the first batch of shows include multiple podcasts produced by The Ringer. And that's a network, a podcasting network that's led by sports and culture pundit Bill Simmons. Also, NBA fans will be able to get insights from the man who wrote the back of the basketball on his flagship Bill Simmons podcast, while the Rewatchables offers Netflix users a choice for film buffs. You'll also get true crime is still huge when it comes to podcasts. So you'll get conspiracy theory, the podcast like conspiracy theories and serial killers. Now, one thing, like I'm not a huge true crime fan, but I listened to a lot of NPR. One thing I used to like was Serial. Remember that podcast called Serial? Huge. For some people, people, especially Americans, like that type of thing. So it works out well. So the bottom line is you will be able to get some podcasts from Spotify because they've done companion series for things like Stranger Things. They did companion series for Game of Thrones. So you'll see those types of things where you'll have people talking about these things, but not podcast per se. So this will give them access without a lot of output. Like they're not going to have to do $200 million deals for podcasters to come over there. So this just is smart.
Right.
So that's what I have for you today. Actually, we just covered those 4 stories.
And Fred said all of podcasts hosted by athletes are owned by agencies, not by the athletes. Does that include Shannon Sharpe? Because I thought he owned his own.
Shannon Sharpe is his own. And he's more so a former athlete as opposed to a current athlete. So once you get out of the game, you start to understand, okay, I have to make money some other way. So you start to become most of the ones who are interested will start to become a little more business savvy. They'll have their own production companies, etc. Oh, did he sold part? He sold part of his ownership. Oh, okay.
Because
I had to pay off somebody. Go ahead.
Because I was watching a podcast with an NBA, used to be a coach. He was a player and a coach, former player and a coach. And he was on he had his own show with his son, but my husband and I, we didn't like the people who were producing they had the podcast, but they were on these other people's network. I think that's what it was. And the network, because, they would play the opening. And I was like, what? Yes, you are absolutely right, Fred.
Mark Jackson? Okay.
Yeah, we could not get past whatever was happening with the people who were putting them on their okay. How shall I say this? Watch your associations. And I was like, okay, I can't watch this just because of what comes on before you. And I was like, okay, no.
That's your favorite thing, Fred, lack of continuity.
And it was disjointed because Mark and his son have one set of ideals and things. And then these other people were like, how did y'all team up?
Wow.
So that is our conversation and show for Tech Life Weekly this week. We want to say thank you so much for everybody who watched live, Fred and others. And those of you who are watching on the replay, we want to say thank you for becoming a part of the BizChicks community. You can join the BizChicks community by texting Biz 33777, or you can simply go to bizchicks.net. We got a brand new website. Go check it out. We got some goodies over there for you as well. We just want to say thank you for being a part of our Friday, and we look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you so much, Dr. Tachi. Thank you for helping me hold it down. I didn't have to go solo. Okay. So we'll talk to you later. Let Brittany take us home. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. We trust you've learned something to help you build a more profitable business and take the hassle out of your hustle. See you next time.